want to introduce you to somebody who was actually sacked by Murdoch. I was one of those creatures that are vilified in the press. I was a trade union official at the time. So I wasn't actually sacked, but I was supporting and being with all of the workers who were. And I'm delighted to be able to introduce you to somebody who was sacked by Murdoch and can tell you exactly what happened, why it happened, and what happened next. So please welcome everybody. This is Paul, who doesn't live in London now. He lives on the coast, but he's come up specially for this today. Here you are, Paul.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. There's nothing to press. Just speak into it.
My name's Paul. I was in dispute with Rupert Murdoch for 15 months. And as Anne said before me, Murdoch sacked 5,500 men and women.
Shame!
But those men and women also had families. So the impact initially on that 5,500 was 25,000 husbands, wives and children. I can only tell you a micro story of how Wapping affected me. My friends, many of them, they never worked again. New technology was a young person's technology. They were resigned to the scrap heap. They never ever worked again. Some of those in fits of depression, unfortunately, aren't here with us anymore. Some of them they committed suicide. They lost their houses, they lost their families. The person who is responsible for that is over there, in the news building. They don't care, those people in the news building. They pay lip service to the rights of the individuals, but they don't care about the individuals. All they care about is their balance sheet. I would ask anybody who has any semblance of care within their body to make simple gestures, because those simple gestures will still count. Don't buy the Sun. Don't buy the Times and the Sunday Times. Don't sign up to Sky. These things hurt. And to make one final comment, as was said earlier, before the Wapping dispute, we never had zero contracts. Post-Wapping, we had our pensions changed. We had contracts that went from 0 hours to being expected to be on call for 365 days a year. I swear, as long as I have a breath in my body, I will never let anybody ever forget what those 5,500 people were prepared to do in the name of this democracy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul. It is a real privilege for us to have you here speaking today, reminding us from what happened 30 years ago in the 80s. It is the real consequences and real lives. As Paul said, it wasn't just 5,000 people who were fired that day, it was 5,000 families lost their living. and the consequence of that is heartbreaking. But it's not just those 5,000 families, it's the thousands of families who have been affected since then as the trade union's power was broken, and as the conditions for working class people in public services and in the private sector across Britain have been trashed. It is not an accident that over the last 30 years, since those 5,000 people were fired, that the income and lifestyles of the bottom 20% have, for the first time since the middle of last century, has gone down. The 20% poorest part of Britain, their income and their wealth has gone down over the last 30 years since Murdoch took over the Sun and fired those workers. They were just the first in the firing line, and we want to actually put a line under that. And here we are in Occupy this week, putting out the message that the young people of today will not accept the consequences of what happened 30 years ago. We're going to put a line in the sand and reclaim our media. Thank you.